Oh, yes. What an incredible atmosphere it was. The Battle of the West, 82,000 fans at a course stadium. Aaron Woods and Brent Reid, you were both there, and Penrith were just dominant from the get-go.
Yeah, I think we've seen one of the great teams, haven't we? The last 3 years have barely lost a game. Obviously won 2 premierships in that time. And I think they're up there with the great Melbourne sides, the great Brisbane sides, the great Roosters teams. I think they belong in that company now. And, they'll come back to the field a little bit next year, but they're so far ahead of everyone at the moment. Even if they come back, they'll be well in the mix next year. I mean, they were amazing.
It's quite unbelievable how good they were, Obviously, I think last 3 years, Reedy, they've been outstanding. I think they learned a lot from that first grand final against Melbourne. They must have played the game a little bit too much in their head from the start because Melbourne got out to a big lead and they did come back in that grand final, but the last 2 years, wow, like they were hanging on by a thread at the back end of last year, and I think that's probably the best grand final they won, but the best performance yesterday, outstanding. Look, I don't even think Parra were in the game at all. The first 5 minutes was pretty physical, but geez, Penrith's defence, that's where they won the game. They were outstanding.
But even then, I thought the first 10 minutes or so, Parramatta was still in the game.
Yeah, look,
but it just felt like Penrith were...
They were in the game.
It was a matter of time,
where
right?
Penrith were receiving the ball and where they were finishing in their sets, how they were defending was just... They were picking up, the back five of the Panthers, of the Parramatta Eels, and driving them back. Poor Gutho, Wonga Blake, Micah Sevo were just getting put in their backside and driven back, whereas Tyler would catch the ball in his 10-metre or 20-metre line and get straight back to the 30 or 40 and quick play the ball. And then you got Targo, Fisher-Harris, Leota. Unbelievable.
Liam Martin was unbelievable.
Liam Martin, kick out.
Yeah.
There's a team full of stars, really. But
it was one of those games where every one of their players played the best they could.
Yeah.
In terms of how good they can be and do they compare to the great Broncos sides and Melbourne of the last 20 years, they are losing a couple of players, but that core group will be together. Api Coruscant going to the Tigers, Viliami Kikau going to the Bulldogs, and our mate Ben Dobbin was on the sideline. He caught up with him straight after the match.
2 premierships in 2 years. You finish at this club. What a special night for you, Villy, and for Penrith.
Yeah, it is, mate. Sorry. Just got a bit emotional at the moment. Yeah.
This club's done a lot for you, hasn't it?
I've got no words. I came to this club as a young bloke, just trying to play one game at NRL, and they gave me the opportunity to play one game and played my 100th at this club. And to win 2 premiership, just no words. It means a lot. I love this club and
Very emotional there from Viliami Kikau, and I know it was extra special because his brother Jope, who is in a wheelchair, was able to make it over from Fiji. So he'd promised Jope that he'd make another grand final so he could come over. Obviously he couldn't with COVID in the last few years. So he had all his family there, and really special for all of the Panthers, but especially for Viliami Kikau.
Yeah, it was really good scenes at the end of the game, Emma. I think it was right in the front of the box where we were calling the game from. We just seen Kikau pop up out of nowhere, and all his family were in front of us, and just to see the emotion on his face, and you got to hear it then with the interview with Dobbo. It's just a lot of passion, and obviously a lot of disappointment in his leaving. But at the end of the day, money talks, so he's going to have a good time with the Bulldogs.
Man, I'd hate to be opposite him in a defensive line. Poor old Mitch Moses. I mean, did a pretty good job on him last night, Mitchy boy. But
he tried, but
man,
kick out with the ball, kick out offensively. He was just there all night, and every time Mitch kicked the ball, you just see kick out flying out of the line, whether it's making a tackle or putting his arm up to put kick pressure on. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, let's look ahead then to the next 5 years.
Yep.
How many comps will they win?
I don't think you can overstate or understate how big a loss as Kikau and Coruscant are. Everyone's talked about Coruscant and what they lose with him going, and he's a top quality hooker, one of the best in the comp, in the top probably 3, top 2 in the comp. But Kikau's an enormous loss for them, and I think they've signed Luke Garner next year to probably fill that hole. They'll have some kids coming through in the next few years, but he's just an enormous presence on a footy field, Viliami Kikau. And as I said, they're a long way ahead of everyone at the moment. I just think losing those 2 guys brings them back to the field a little bit. They won't be as dominant. They're still going to be good, obviously, because they've got a production line out there, and you've still got Nathan Cleary, you've still got Luai, you've still got Dylan Edwards, who was ridiculous the other night. So they're still going to be really good, but they're just not going to be as far ahead as they have been the last few years.
Yeah,
I disagree. That'd be unlikely to disagree with me.
I think Coruscant's the big one. You look at last night in the first 20 minutes. Yeah, they bashed him defensively. But when they had the ball, Kenny wasn't picking the right options. Cleary was catching the ball behind him. He wasn't bringing him onto the ball. Luai wasn't getting much pill. So as soon as Coruscant got in the field, they scored a try straight away. I think it was the first or second set he was on there. The deception and the awareness that he has, and it just being able to link up with those players. He brought Isaiah Yeo onto the ball, and he brought him into the game a lot more. He was so destructive when Coruscant was there. Look, no disrespect to Kenny. He's an outstanding player. He's a premiership winner now, but when you lose Coruscant, he's unbelievable, mate. And I know you say kicker, yeah, he's a big presence on that edge, but in the middle, you always got to be aware because when you think you've got Coruscant, you've got Cleary. When you've got Cleary, you've got Luai, and he's the glue in the middle there.
I don't think it'll end with those guys. I reckon they'll lose at least one more of those big guys. They've got Toto, Crichton, and Liam Martin all at the end of
even Spencer Leniu
next year. Spencer Leniu, I think he'll be gone, Woodsy. I think that's been
and his role off the bench, he plays it to perfection. He's unbelievable. That 20, 25-minute stint that he does, you can't tackle him. And if you do tackle him, he makes 10, 20 post-contact meters. So they all do their role perfect for the squad.
And a guy like Steve Crichton, if he goes to November 1, which it looks like he probably will, he's going to get some huge offers because there'll be clubs who'll be happy for him to play fullback. He's never going to play fullback at Penrith.
The Bulldogs.
He's spoken about it in the past. Well, Cameron Cireldo's going there. There's an obvious link there. So,
but even you got like the squad players, Jamin Semin. He's
going to the Dogs as well, I think.
He hasn't signed yet, but their depth's going to get tested. I know they've got a really good junior system, but the players that have played 50 to 100 games, they're the ones going to get picked up by other clubs now because they can get a little bit more money over there.
Yeah.
Well, that is the price you pay for success. But a shout out to the Panthers.
Unbelievable.
They won SG Ball, Jersey Flag, New South Wales Cup, and the NRL Premiership. It's the first time in history that's ever been done. So 113
And they won it easy too.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game? The first game yesterday?
Yeah, so they've got, their depth is incredible. They were very dominant. Well, so many of those players, like, Matt Eisenhuth, so many of them have a lot of first grade experience. So
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Chris Smith, you could name the whole squad. I think only two of them hadn't played first grade.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we know what Ivan's like. He doesn't like to talk up their chances too much, but this is what he had to say about a possible dynasty at the foot of the mountains.
Yeah, we just take one day at a time, so we're not going to give a shit about next year. We're going to enjoy tonight. It's been an unbelievable season for our club. Like, it's never been done before, I don't think, 4 grades, and it's hard to put that into words other than to say how, I'm sure proud we all are. Our club is very aligned. Everybody is their own person, but they all, we all have this, we're all, I guess, woven together by a common thread of doing our best for the club. Just can't wait to spend the next couple of days with these guys. Honestly, it's just, you've got to savour it.
Sure, they would have been celebrating long and hard into the night, and we've seen a few things floating around social media of the celebrations this morning. Woodsy, what have you made of what you've seen out there and how they're partying with that premiership trophy?
Oh, obviously they're quite pumped. Some of the audio that I've heard, Big Daddy Luai, he's been given it to Parramatta, and I think the whole squad's jumped on behind that. Look, good on them. They've been in 3 grand finals. They've won 2 in a row, and only in the new NRL era, I think it was the Roosters have done that. So, and the only thing is, they haven't stopped yet. They've still got next year, whereas the Roosters are sort of, they haven't, last couple of years haven't been in there. But these guys can do it, and they've got that presence that everyone thinks they're cocky, but they've got the runs on the board to do it. So, good luck to them.
Well, we do, I believe, have some of the audio from the fan day today.
All the fans, thank you so much. All love. I just want to say, our sons. As I said last night, we're the greatest Penrith team ever.
So that was James Fisher-Harris saying that Para sucks.
That's quite big because he didn't say much at all.
He never talks.
He never
I think
talks.
he's still under the influence.
Rough, didn't he?
He'd surely be under the influence for the next 3 or 4 days, mate. They deserve it. But little things like that put a target on them next year. Like we said, teams are going to be coming after them now, and especially that they're back-to-back premiers. It's hard enough doing it once, but being back-to-back, you're going to be hunted every time now.
When we hear the stories, for example, when last year Viliami Kikau was singing Glory, Glory to South Sydney, and they mentioned the fact that that was a motivator of sorts, it annoyed them and pissed them off. Do you think that's something that next year Para will be thinking?
No. But the good thing is, but we're seeing personalities in the game. We don't see many of it. And when it happens, we always want to bring them down. I reckon it's awesome because We never hear Fisher Harris say boo.
Yeah.
Even when he's playing, he's quiet. And I reckon it's unreal kick out.
I don't know too many people who have a problem with that. The only people that have a problem with that are Parramatta people.
Supporters, yeah.
But that's great, right? Because you've got to have these rivalries in the game, and we'll drag it out next year.
Oh, yeah.
It creates
when they
the
play
atmosphere.
each other, we will flog that within an inch of its life.
And then when they play each other for the second time,
we'll
if they
drag it out
do, we'll do it
again.
again. If they play each other in the finals, we'll
they
talk
played
about
4
it again.
times this year, so you'll be pumping up like no tomorrow.
That stuff's fine. It's some of the other stuff that happens that, pushes the boundaries a little bit. Just some stuff on social media. I reckon that's the stuff that I reckon's a bit line ball. That stuff, the daddy stuff, I don't have a problem with that, right? Because
It's just tongue in cheek.
Exactly. He's taking the mickey out of him. And look, Parramatta will be storing it away. They'll be taking notes. And I'm sure Brad, when they play each other next year, he'll drag it out and he'll remind them and we'll remind them and everyone will talk about it. It's great.
Do you think that would bother Penrith one bit?
No, they don't care.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But Reedy, correct me if I'm wrong, did the Storm in that 2020 grand final, they did there was a symbol.
Postcode thing.
Yeah,
It was a postcode
yeah.
thing,
And Penrith got offended by that, didn't they?
Yes.
And they spoke about it.
Yes.
What about Alfie
Between-
Langer in '93?
St. George can't
Yeah,
play.
well, mate, and we all love Alfie Langer, so
Yeah.
it's the best. It's what you want to see. We talk so many times that we want to see players be themselves, pump themselves up, but then when they do something, we want to bring them straight down. So, mate, good luck to them. Just keep doing what they do. Embrace it. They're back-to-back champions.
Can I just
What's wrong with the
can
stuff
I
on social
defend
media?
the media for a second? I don't think anyone's bringing them down about the daddy stuff and saying they're our sons. I don't think anyone cares. I think what we're saying is Parramatta are not going to be happy about it, and there's going to be some angst down the track about it because.
But you just said the social media. You said you don't rate the social media
There's been
stuff.
some other stuff though. There's some other stuff that's been said that
I haven't
the
seen it.
NRL's looking into. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But as well as anyone would, footy clubs when that stuff happens. I'm sure in the past. You've been in
100%.
footy
I
clubs.
get filthy.
Yeah.
It's when Josh Maguire, winners have parties, losers
That's
have
right,
meetings.
yes.
Heaps good. I'm off you. But then, you get over it. You build a bridge and get over it.
I know.
It's just
But
part
did you
of life.
store it away for the next time you played them or what? Oh, didn't you? That's a bit boring, was he? We stored it away for you and dragged it out. And we'll drag it out. As I said, we'll drag it out next year.
Well, it gives us
That
plenty
video will
of
get a run around.
storylines for next year.
gold.
Reedy is licking his lips.
Yeah, love that stuff.
One of the storylines next year may be the premiership window for Parramatta. I know it's not even 24 hours since the grand final, but what do we think about the fact that they've got Reid Marnie going, Isaiah Papali'i, the two key ones, Oregon Kaufusi, Muradini Akore, Tom Obachek, Ray Stone. So sort of 6
Some big players.
first graders there. And
void-
that all year there have been question marks about, is this the year they have to win it and does the window close? But do you believe that's the case now that all of the other players in that squad have grand final experience?
A lot of the grand final experience is moving on. But in saying that, Nathan Brown's a question mark too.
Yeah, he'll be gone. He'll be gone.
And the other question mark is how Hodgson comes back from an ACL injury.
Yeah.
Because they're quite tough to come back from. And at his age, I think he's 33 or 34.
That's the big issue for me, Woodsy.
Is his age.
Because if he comes back, they've still got a really good spine.
Oh, yeah, their spine's enormous. But
Yeah.
it's like Penrith. You lose Coruscant, you lose a lot of deception, a lot of creativity. And I think next year, if they can get Hodgson playing near his best, what he has in the last few years, it's going to really help Mitchell and Dylan Brown as well. He picks the right times. He can bring forwards onto the ball. Look, they've still got Paulo and Campbell Gillard, but it's going to really test the depth as their middle forwards off the bench. Last night they only really had Madison and Kaufusi off the bench. Niakore's gone too. He's been one of their best middle forwards all year, underrated, that no one talks about. He can play back row and centre at the same time. Ray Stone, he won them the game against Melbourne, and obviously they haven't been with him for the last, back end of the year. But you look at the bench yesterday, they played Brown for 15 minutes and Arthur got on at the last 10. They need to get something for those two positions because they're losing quite a few, and their back row depth is going to also test them too.
And I'm not sure how much money they're going to have to spend because they've got some issues.
Well, I think Brown and Moses are off. They're going to November 1.
Yeah. Is Mitch going to November 1? I spoke to him. We'll save that for Reedy's mail.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Why would you ask me then?
What's that?
Why would you ask
I
me?
thought you might know something. You're good mates.
You're Reedy's mail.
We're going to
buddies,
save
isn't it?
Reedy's mail for the very end of the show because it's the last segment for the entire year.
Oh,
So before
really?
we get to that,
Yeah.
let's talk about the Kangaroo squad because I know, Reedy, you and I are very excited to head over to the UK.
Lucky
You're
yous
going
two,
next
huh?
week. I'm going on Thursday.
Thursday. Are you packed?
No way. I'll be packing Wednesday night.
You'll
Still got to
be
work.
packing Thursday morning.
You got your
Em. Come on.
passport?
My mum said to me today, if you want me to go and buy some stuff from the shops, if you need anything, just write me a list.
yeah.
I said,
Mate.
Mum, I will
advantage
be
of it.
taking.
Do we need a visa or something? Jake Duke was trying to tell me we needed a visa
No,
or something.
no.
We don't, we're all right?
No, you
no.
do, don't you?
I don't.
No.
You do? No, you just need a
No,
passport, don't you?
you need a passport and an international COVID certificate.
Oh, how do you
believe.
get that? I haven't got one of them.
We can discuss that
Oh,
off
okay,
air, Edie.
sorry. Oh, that's
No
drama.
one gives-
Reedy's
That's
missus will be
drama.
happy
No
with
one
that.
cares about this.
Is there a long wait for those things? Please tell
Yeah,
me
you
no.
can't go. Sorry.
Oh, damn it.
Woodsy, you're in.
Oh, well, I'll go. I'll take it.
Anyway, that'll be fun. I was
Okay.
at the squad announcement
The squad
today.
and key takeaways. Any surprises? Any surprise ins or outs?
Okay, well, I suppose the biggest shock was Dylan Edwards not being in the side.
Well, you just said off air it's not a shock.
Well, I don't. Well, no, I understand why he's not in there. Yeah, because he wasn't in it before last night. He obviously got Clive Churchill medal, was outstanding. But the issue is they've got so many. They've got obviously Teddy's the captain, James Tedesco. Congratulations to him. Good mate of
Well done.
yours.
Yeah,
Now the Australian
outstanding.
captain.
Yeah, well done.
He'll be fullback in most games. They've got Latrell, they've got Jack White, and they've got Val Holmes who can all play fullback. So Dylan was considered, I guess, a player who's a pure fullback.
Would you have had Nico Hines ahead of Dylan?
No, because
Nico can play.
I think the issue with Nico Hines was they've taken Matt Burton instead of Nico Hines. I think it was Burton or Hines. I think they took Burton. Well, they have taken Burton. I think that was the decision there.
That's fair enough. Yeah, you look for the future.
So, and the other thing that was really interesting actually is they named 2 vice captains,
Who's that?
and the 2 vice captains are Isaiah Yeo and Cameron Murray. No Daly Cherry Evans.
So that might give you a feel that they're going to go with Cleary.
Well, Mel said no. That's not an indicator that Cleary will be the halfback. But I mean, the fact that Daly's not a vice captain when he was Queensland captain.
But he could also be looking for the future because they haven't played an Aussie Test match for 2 or 3 years.
3 years, I think.
3 years
yeah.
it is. So, and he could be saying, "Well, I'm looking forward, for the next 4 or 5 years," and that's what Mao does. He gets a squad and what he wants. You can't. Obviously, the 3 years hurts being off, and I think Cherry. No, he wasn't the captain. Boyd Corden was the captain at the time. Cherry was vice captain.
Yep.
I know Cherry is the captain of Queensland, but Tedesco and I think Cameron Murray is vice captain for New South Wales as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so they're just looking for the future. Tedesco, what an honour for him. He's had a really good last 3 or 4 years, and this could probably top it off for him. Captain his country, hopefully lead him to a World Cup victory.
Well, a shout out to the Gillaroos as well.
Yep.
They their squad was announced. There's a couple of debutants, but one of the superstars from the NRLW Grand Final, Tamika Upton, who won the Karen Murphy medal. She's in the squad for the first time as well. And what a game that was.
Is it her first time
it's
in there?
her first time.
Wow.
Well,
believe it
they've
or
missed
not.
a few years too. Yeah, she's an
Did
absolute
Jessie
weapon.
Southwell make it?
She did not.
Oh, no way.
Having a look at it now, I thought they might have just
I
put her
would've
in. She
blooded
wouldn't
her.
have. She wouldn't have
Yeah.
started, but
Put her in the squad.
yeah, she's not in the squad. There we go.
Jeez, that's a big one. Who'd they go with?
So
Ali
Ali
Brigginshaw.
Brigginshaw and Taryn Aitken, the
Well,
Broncos
that's hard.
halves.
Yeah, they're 2 of the
And then you've
best.
got Talia Fui-Maono,
Yeah,
the
good
six
on
from
her.
the Dragons.
Dragons girl, absolutely champion, yeah.
So, unfortunate for Jessie Southwell, but she's only 17, so she'll get it. She'll get her
long
shot.
time. I would have put her in there just for
Yeah, put her in
experience.
there.
But
Come
well
on.
done to the
just for
Knights as
comp.
well. That was an incredible season from them. Tamika killed it. Millie Boyle is an absolute
You
gun.
know what, mate? A
The
lot of
Dobbo bagged her.
Dobbo.
Who did Dobbo bag?
He just knocked
Millie
her, said she had
Boyle.
a stinker at
He
the
just
start.
bagged her.
Yesterday.
Yeah, in the first half, she dropped 2 balls. But Parramatta, not many people give Parramatta a chance. And they come out, they fought fire with fire. They started off well, got a 6-0 lead, but just too much class in the Newcastle side.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Eels captain, Samaima Torfa.
Great
I'm not sure if you heard her speech afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Great
She
speech.
was, both in her Channel 9 interview and then her speech on stage, she was in tears just saying, I hope we made everyone proud and hope we're an inspiration to all of the
And you know what she also
young
did as
girls."
well? I don't know if you saw it because you were on stage talking. She went and kissed and cuddled every Knights player that was going
Did
on
she?
to receive
Yeah.
their ring.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that from the far.
Classy.
She's
I was sidelined for that game.
Great
Sidelined
How'd
to
you
Boo at
go?
the women's game.
You know what the best was?
Oh, yeah. I think
The best was
got
Reedy
through.
was going for interviews at the end of the game and got brushed. He didn't get any. I was watching you.
Why? Who'd you go for?
And then he got a call from the
I
old
did get
chica.
someone. Who did I get? I can't remember. Charlie, you remember?
No, this is after the medal ceremony.
Oh, I got Millie Boyle, yeah.
Yeah,
got
but
the most support one.
And after the ring, you go, "No, mate, you're not needed. You just go back to the sideline."
Well, no, they
That
ran
was
out
the
of
best.
time. They ran out of time.
Did you see Adam Elliott the camera went to Adam Elliott in the stands.
crying, wasn't he?
Crying. It
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah, good on him.
All right.
Great stuff.
The final segment for the year, Reedy, you better deliver.
Reedy's Mail.
Okay, let's start with your good mate, Mitchy Moses. Great him after the game last night, Woodsy. Just want to know a little bit about his future because he's a November 1 guy, able to sign elsewhere on November 1. And, I got the sense that he's in no real rush. Look, I mean, he praised, obviously, Parramatta and he praised Brad Arthur and, said he's had a great time at the club and loves the club. And my sense is that he wants to stay, but I don't think it's going to happen real quick. I don't think, it's going to be knocked over rapidly. I think it's going to take some time. And I think Parramatta are going to have to pay some cash to keep him because...
They're going to have to pay some cash, yeah. Well, he's a grand finalist now. He's taking that club. And they're losing a lot of players too. So he might be waiting back to see what players they're bringing in if they're a chance to keep going through with making the grand final next year.
Well, I asked him about Benji as well, whether he's heard from Benji again. He just sort of brushed it off. He laughed it off. But
he's just played a grand final. You asked him about Benji and Tigers.
Yeah, that was the last question. Just threw it in.
Real good.
But, they've obviously got an issue with Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses. As you said, Dylan Brown's already said he's going to go to November 1. So he's going to be up for grabs. He's going to look at 7 figures. You got Mitch who's looking at least 7 figures and could become the highest paid halfback in the game in the next couple of years. Parramatta they've got to be really careful here because if they go too hard with these two blokes, they're not going to be able to put good players around them. It's going to cost them some of their young blokes down the track. So,
well, they're going to have to get Mark O'Neill, Brad Arthur, whatever it is. They're going to have to get them in a room and just say, look, if you want the best money, you can get it, but the roster around it's going to be a bit slim. If you want to play in a strong side, then we need to say, all right, well, this is what we can offer you, this is what we can offer you, and this is what we've got left to buy other decent players.
I reckon Brad's the key, Woodsy. And
has to be.
Tell me if I'm wrong here, but the sense I get is that Mitch loves playing under Brad.
Yeah, big fan.
Dylan loves playing under Brad.
Big fan.
And that he's probably their greatest selling point. They got Brad Arthur there, and if he can convince them to stay and take a little less money, then they're going to remain where they are and at the top of the competition. But if those guys get some huge money thrown at them after November 1, which they probably will, it's going to make life really difficult for them because Parramatta might have to let one of them go.
You know what was incredible this week? I know players are never going to be publicly bagging their coaches. They're always going to be speaking positively about them. But the way the Eels spoke about Brad this week was like he was another father to them. Like
that's what you want to see.
Honestly, you can see the connection that
but you also
the majority of them have with him. And some of the partners, I know Danny Weidler spoke to a couple of the partners at the fan day too and said they wouldn't be in this position without Brad.
I
think it was Murata's partner,
But you see the way they play for him. After the first semi, I think a lot of people questioned, is he the man to lead Parramatta to and to stay on for next year? And they've made the grand final. They had to do it the long way. They got to the grand final. Obviously, they didn't win. Just come up against the Red Hot Panthers side. But the way the boys played in those last 2 or 3 weeks was, it's credit to them and a credit to how much they love their coach. If there was a bit of fighting amongst the coach, you wouldn't have seen those performances.
I reckon we're going to see a frantic few weeks with player movement in the next few weeks. Now, the Dolphins are about to now announce they've signed the Hammer from North Queensland, Hammerside Fido.
Great buy.
To play fullback for them. They're in for Terrell Sloan. They are still in for Tyrell Sloan, but they're now looking at him as potentially as a centre.
Does he want to play there?
Well, that's the issue. I mean, I don't think they've sat down and had that conversation with him yet, but they were initially after him as a fullback. They've now signed the Hammer. They've told him, you will play fullback for us. He signed, I think, a 3-year deal with them. He got permission to leave the Cowboys or a couple other clubs looking, but the Dolphins have held sway there. And I think they're going to have a conversation with Tyrell where they say to him, mate, we still want you to come. We'd love you to play centre. You get an opportunity with us. So, that's a conversation that's got to be had. The Dragons, he's still going to have a conversation with the Dragons and work out whether he stays or whether he leaves. But maybe that might help the Dragons that they're now not looking at him as a fullback when we know he wants to play fullback. So that may help the Dragons keep him. I reckon the other big movers in the offseason is going to be the Tigers. There's lots going on there. We saw Chammy wrote a story today about Dave Clemmer toured the facilities the other day. And his name's been bandied about there for a while now, but I think there's going to be a lot of movement at the Dragons in the next month. The Tigers, in the next month.
Does that rely on what happens with Brooks?
To an extent, it does, Woodsy. Yeah, to an extent, it does.
If you're a betting man, does Brooks stay or go?
And with that Clemmer and Brooks, is that a swap or is that just?
I don't think that's a swap, but my feeling with Brooks is he goes, but I don't know that necessarily will happen.
Does Adam Dewey stay?
Well, I mean, it's funny for Adam Dewey because they've been very public, the Tigers, saying we're chasing Cameron Munster, we're chasing Mitchell Moses, and if I'm Adam, and basically I think they've said
I'd be pissed off if I'm Adam Dewey.
I think they've said to Adam Dewey, mate, go to the World Cup, we'll have a chat with you when you get back. And obviously the underlying story there is if Adam Dewey goes to the World Cup and does a knee again, well,
that's the thing as well.
That's a third, right? So
I love Dewey, but he come last.
Yeah.
And of
He
course,
only played a third of the season.
how have they gone the last 3 years since he's been there? You've got to put yourself in a situation where you want to get the best players.
Yeah.
They're not saying they're going to get a new 7-6, but from what we can gather, Brooks might move on, but they might get someone else. And then Hastings is playing lock, so
yeah. You've got to be in it to win it, though.
You've got to be in the market.
I love the fact, a lot of people bag the Tigers that they're in for these guys.
at least they're saying they're doing it.
They're not. They're having a red hot go. And if they've got and Appy, Appy said some stuff at the fan day today, which is probably going to get blown out of proportion. Where he said, "I've won a couple of comps, Penrith. Now I'm going to the Tigers," and had a bit of a laugh. But talking to people at the Tigers, they say he's been so committed to that club.
Well, look at the other bloke that's going. He hasn't said he wants to go there yet.
And apparently, Appy's been on the phone to Isaiah Papali'i trying to get him to make sure he comes to the Tigers as well. Appy's fully committed, and it might get portrayed another way today. I'm not sure, but if it does, it's unfair and Appy, right?
You've seen how much media he's done. He goes, I'm committed. Boom, that's it.
But I reckon the Tigers can be the big club that makes a lot of change potentially in this off-season.
I hope so.
I
hope
would,
so.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the year ahead for the Tigers and our World Cup campaign.
Yes, can I go throw you one more World Cup one? Interesting in the squad today, Angus Crichton got named in that squad. Angus does not have a contract registered with the NRL beyond October 31, which means...
So you can't play at the World Cup if it's not?
But what happens is the NRL insures him. So there was some suggestions going around, some whispers going around that maybe he wouldn't be able to go because he doesn't have a contract beyond October 31. The World Cup finishes late November. He can go. I've checked it with the NRL. They insure him personally. So
has he agreed with the Roosters or just
he's agreed? They're waiting on the salary cap to get resolved. Once the salary cap gets resolved, they'll get the deal formally done.
So it's just a formality.
It's a formality.
I was going to say, it'd be different circumstances. If he hadn't agreed or nothing, he's still looking for a club. That'd be hard.
It's, I think it's just about done and dusted,
All right. Well, are you going to look after me in the UK, Reedy?
Well,
excuse me, can you look after Reedy in the UK, Emma?
Sometimes you're a bit hard to control.
I know. It can be fun. We've got a fun crew. I wish you were coming, Woodsy.
I'm
not too late, Woodsy.
So jealous.
Not
so
too late.
jealous.
That'd be good if the four of us went, if Charlie came over as well.
I'm staying in the team hotel. I'm in some YMCA down the road.
Hey, at least you're
With the
going, mate.
plebs.
At least you're going.
All right. It's been a fun year. Woodsy, you joined us midway through the season, but you were the star recruit, mid-season transfer.
Off the bench. I actually enjoyed it. You guys, Reedy cops a lot of flack, but he's a good mate of mine.
Hey,
I enjoy it.
On that note, guess who I bumped into the grand final?
Who?
The big man,
Willie Mason.
Mason.
I saw him.
Yes.
He gave me a hug.
Why didn't you get a photo?
He knocked my glasses. He hugged me so hard. True story.
So it's all for show.
We are tight. We are back, baby.
We're back, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully like this podcast.
Yeah. Let's hope that the Monday Scrum
crossed.
is back in 2023, baby.